Greetings, people. You have Soda here. Again, Music Survival Guide podcast. It's been a while since we've done one. This one's going to be different because I am recording this one by myself, just straight onto my computer. So it's going to sound a little bit different. I don't have a partner for this one, but I have an amazing guest here today that I can't even believe is here. We're sitting in my house in a room surrounded by awesome music stuffs. It's July 27th, Saturday. You'll get this soon. What else? Yeah, so let's just cut to the chase because I have a really cool guest here, and we have a bunch of stuff to do before the night gets on. This one's not going to be one of the 2-hour-long ones, but it's still going to be pretty awesome. My guest is the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Spookey Ruben.
Hello, everybody.
And there he is. He is here on the East Coast, which is kind of rare. He is a Canadian musician who moved to California about, 5-6 years ago, I think?
Mm-hmm.
He put a ton of records out, started in 1995 solo with Modes of Transportation Volume 1, which came out on TBT Records. But before that, he was in a band called Transillians, which is like a thrash, prog, math rock kind of thing.
Right.
Which you did shows with in Virginia last week since you were visiting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How? What? Tell us about that.
Well, so the reason why we did it is because when Translations was first coming up, this was all happening in Reston, Virginia, where I went to high school.
So that's where it happened.
That's where it happened.
So you took it full circle. You went home with it.
Yeah, well, so we all the bands that were from the Reston area, the hardcore and metal bands, we were all like in high school, whatever. There was a concert series called Jam for Man, which was a benefit concert for the homeless.
Which you did.
Which we did back in, we're talking 88, 89.
Wow.
Right? So
when it was a little spooky.
Right. And then, so now, 30 years later, a guy named Andy Keeler organized Jam for Man 30. So it's the 30-year anniversary.
It's awesome.
And so he had a bunch of bands from the area, from the Northern Virginia area, and just suburb of DC area. Got them to, and he asked us because Translations is maybe one of the only bands that is. Well, we're the only band that actually played the original Jam for Man.
Wow.
So there's
cool.
another band called Avail, which they ended up moving to. Yeah, they moved to Richmond and became huge.
Mm-hmm.
Independently from this whole scene, but then, and so they asked us to do it, and then the three other guys in the new formation of Translations are all original Reston guys from the hardcore scene. So it was the new Translations band is almost like a super group of musicians from that scene.
That's awesome.
Anyway, so. Jerry Barrett, who also plays with Corrosion of Conformity, and he played with HR, the human rights guy from Bad Brains.
Yeah.
And so it's, there's a lot of great musicians in the band, but Jerry in particular was really the catalyst who kind of encouraged me to let's do this.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of I was a little bit I wanted to do it, but Andy Johnson and Jamie Gugino, who are the original members of Translations, they're not available. They didn't want to do it. So then when Jerry came on board, he was like, okay, we can do it, kind of thing. So anyway,
that's cool.
It was amazing. There was a lot of old faces in the audience, and it was great to see all these people from back then. And so now we're actually talking about, because it went really well, we're talking about maybe doing some more shows.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, there were 2 shows in Virginia. Now, they were both Transillian shows that you did last week?
So one of them was a Transillian show, and the other one was my new solo show, which is a kind of like a performance art VHS solo show, which you saw.
Yeah, I've had the pleasure of seeing it for the past 2 nights and participating in it. We'll talk more about that in a minute or two. Spooky's latest record is Modes 3. which is modes of transportation. There's a modes of transportation number 2, which is called What's a Boy to Do, the subtitle, and then modes volume 1. There's a lot of music to be had. He's got a bunch of records, full lengths, EPs, all that cool stuff. There is a weekly thing that you do in California too, like a brunch type thing at a venue.
No longer.
Okay.
So for about almost 2.5 years now, I had a residency at the Kibitz Room in Fairfax, and basically it went from doing it weekly to then we did it bi-month or bi-weekly, whatever you want to call it, to then I started doing it monthly. And then, I feel like in the end it was a great idea, and we had some incredible special guests. I had Angelo Moore from Fishbone on the show. I had all sorts of, I had what's his name? Jeff Parker, from the guitar player from Tortoise, was as a guest on my show. So,
I think I saw Estero came through.
Estero was, of course.
Spooky's been friendly, I guess, with Estero for a long time. Played on We Are in Need of a Musical Revolution. Played bass.
That's right. And
she's also a Canadian artist now in California.
Yes. So we've done a bunch of work together.
She's on Modes 3. She's on Message 11.
That's right.
Which is super fun. I love that thing.
Good.
It's cute.
Okay, cool.
It's cool. We listened, so Bowery Electric was 2 nights ago. Spooky came, played in New York City, and then New Jersey last night. I was at both, and like I said, I participated in both, which was amazing for me because I've been listening to Spooky for a long time. I discovered Spooky when we had much music here in America. I was at home doing my homework, and I heard some really bizarre things happening on my TV. And I looked up, and it was Spookey Ruben with These Days Are Old. I ordered the record. I had to get it. I ordered it into a Tower Records. And it was confusing and weird and wonderful, and I just didn't quite understand it. And I made all my friends listen to it. And then we were hooked. And then we drove to Toronto to see him, and we've been friends ever since. I've seen him a bunch of times in Toronto. I used to get there a lot. I used to go there to play music, to see music, to eat, to take in the art, the movies, look at all the beautiful people. Haven't been able to do it too much, but I had said earlier that Spooky hasn't been on the East Coast probably for 8, 10, a decade. I mean, can that possibly be?
Yeah, I guess that's true.
And time, it's just like that. Bang, bang, bang.
It's insane.
Modes 3 is the newest record. It's about 2 years old. He's doing this really wild, like he said, one-man show with a VCR where his songs are on these VHS tapes, and it's almost like Spookey Ruben does Spooky Ruben karaoke. In a weird sense.
Yeah.
Spooky does Spooky. Which it sounds kind of weird, but he's a multi-instrumentalist, mostly plays everything on these records, writes it all. So I guess when you do something like that, you can kind of get away with it, because I don't think everybody can get away with what you're doing. I really don't.
You mean the current show?
As far as a performance thing, because... Right. For a person like me who embraces this stuff and loves it, but for the average person that might be lingering at one of these places that you play, they might be like, what is going on right now? Like, what is happening? I think it's like a love or hate thing. And that's not to be offensive at all, obviously. But when people get it, they get it. And you know that, like, those are my people.
Right. I mean, I think it's weird. It's because, but you know what? I have to say, like,
there's a blue hand involved and everything.
Right, and there's OT Biggs.
And, OT Biggs. Right. I was saying, I participated. I am, my alias now is OT Biggs, which is a giant owl that Spooky has created. He's a character in the Disney Playground world.
That's right.
Which is another thing that Spooky does. There's just so much that Spooky does, and there's a lot to talk about. We're kind of on a time restraint because Spooky will be doing a private show in our home, my home, this evening, which is even crazier. It's so cool. Tell us more about the current show, maybe a little bit about Modes 3, what's happening, what do you want to do, what's going to happen?
Well, I just want to say quickly about my new show is that, for most of my career since the beginning, whenever I say I do a solo show, it means that I'm playing acoustic
Right,
guitar.
which he'll be doing tonight
Right.
in the house, which is going to be really great.
And so it's acoustic, and then I'm singing, and then, and I think...
That's a little bit more singer-songwriter coffee shop.
Definitely, and I feel like that's great, but it's also kind of limiting, and I wanted to do something new. And believe it or not, it was actually it was a big step for me to try and do something like this,
Was it hard to put this together? There's a projector, there's a VCR, there's a bunch of VHS tapes, there's a blue hand, a wig.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like there's not a lot going, and there's a screen with all these amazing videos and lyrics and everything. It sounds like it's not a lot, but it's actually a lot, I think.
The hardest part wasn't actually just making the videotapes, because they're just, in most cases, they're just my music videos.
Right.
In some cases, I've turned them into lyric videos, whatever.
Yes.
But I think just mentally, that was the biggest part, was for me to just get over the fact that, like, let me just step away from being that guy behind the guitar. Because I've been doing that for 30 years. Just to suddenly change that up, that was the hardest part. So it was, I remember the first show I did was in New Orleans, actually, where I did the VHS show.
Wow, okay.
And we were having a hard time connecting the VHS machine at the show. And then I told Coco, who was the producer, the promoter of the show, I said, I'll just play acoustic guitar, because I was kind of shaking, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah.
And he was like, no way, man, you prepared all these VHS tapes. Like, come on, do this. And then, somehow we plugged in the thing. We found an RCA cable that was long enough to go from the projector.
Well, that was something that I thought might have been a problem, because, unless you have, like, adapters and stuff, that's more, like, current, quote-unquote, current technology.
Right.
Because you can't really even plug a VCR into a current TV, I don't think, can you? We have a VCR DVD combo here where we live, but, it's not like I can't go downstairs and put an Atari into the big screen TV in the living room.
Right,
which is a bummer, by the way.
Well, but again, it's like, it's funny how, like, let me put it this way. The reason why I insist on having a VCR on stage and having every song on a different VHS tape is because, for me, it's really important for me to show the audience that I'm actually involved in picking the actual song that's going to be played. I think there's something to be said about the tactile quality of the tapes.
Yeah, for sure.
As opposed to me just going on stage and there's a mystery tape, like a 60-minute show reel that's playing in the background,
or just a computer, just hitting a button.
For example, yesterday I asked Dylan, one of the guys in the audience, pick a tape, and then
that was great. Yeah, there's about 20 VHS tapes, and there's no set list. Spooky's just kind of like, I'm going to do this one, I'm going to do this one. He invited somebody up on stage to pick a song out yesterday, and Dylan, which what's the name of his band?
He's in a band called The Red Room.
Yeah, The Red Room. Nice guy. He picked Welcome to the House of Food, and it was so fun, and the audience was so into it. Really great audience participation. That's on Modes of Transportation, Volume 1. That's a spooky classic, I guess. Guys, there's so much to talk about. I could do this all night, and as you know, like, the shows are usually like 2 hours long, but we have a lot to do here with Spooky tonight because we have a bunch of guests coming over to check him out soon. Like I said, we got a private show at the house, which is going to be amazing. I think he's going to prep a set list. What else, I guess, that's current, Spooky, do you want to tell anybody that might tune into this thing?
Well, my plan right now is just, I feel like I'm on a bit of a roll now with my solo VHS tour, because it's easy for me to, logistically, it's way easier because I don't have to deal with
all these instruments
and all this band members and hotels and all that stuff. So I'm going to continue doing a solo show. I'm going to also try and play more shows with Transillians, actually, when we can. That's another thing I'm trying to. And the other bigger, in terms of releases, what I'm working on, what I'm preparing right now, is to release a new single. When I say new, I want to release a new song every week on Spotify, and I'm gonna make a little splash. What I want to do is do like a featured song of the week. So be it old or new or brand new,
okay,
and like using Instagram and using YouTube to maybe talk about the song. So spend an entire week talking about the making, and then here's the song, and then I do a new release of it, remaster it for Spotify, whatever.
All right,
and that's kind of my new trip right now.
Cool. There's a Bandcamp page with all of Spooky's stuff on there digitally. There's also the Bandcamp. You know, there you can buy stuff on Bandcamp. There's like a store tab that you could check out too. There's stickers. There's cool swag. He's got his own label too, still, right? Hi-Hat.
Yeah, Hi-Hat is, it's my label name, but I'm not really. Honestly, I'm not like running it like. I'm not signing bands or anything the way I used to do. That's
the new record came out on Restcord, which is a label from Chicago.
Yeah, well, it's half Chicago, half based in Belmont, California, actually. So.
Right. Spooky also has, I guess, a side project called AAA Battery, which we featured on the show a bunch of episodes back with Fred, who lives in Chicago, and Joe is in California, right?
That's right.
And those guys kind of, I guess, approached you if you wanted to be a part of it, and you said yes. Mm-hmm. And AAA Battery was born. Spooky sang on it. It's like Zappa-ish, maybe a little Mars Volta-ish. It's psychedelic, weird, cool stuff with the signature Spookey Ruben vocal thing happening. So yeah, I don't know. I guess that's it, guys. MusicSurvivalGuide.org, officialsoda.com. What website for you?
SpookyRuben.net. SPOOKEY.
Yes, let's not forget. RUBEN. It's not traditional spooky. There is an E in there for eccentric and eclectic and exciting.
And ecstasy.
And, ecstasy. What? Kids, stay in school. Thanks for listening. A long one will be coming in the future, but this was good. Short's good because nobody has an attention span anymore. Thanks, Spooky.
Thank you, Soda. Thank you so much.
We're handshaking. You can't see this, but we're shaking hands.
Listen, people, I am so happy to be here at Soda's Funhouse. I can't even put it in words. If you guys ever have the pleasure of coming to his house, it's like a
we have a lot of shit here.
It's just,
and it's a secret unless you're cool enough to get in. You need the golden ticket.
It's a corner. Let's put it this way: it's a cornucopia of color and music and movies
and art and toys and just all the good shit.
Exactly.
Life's too short, and I just want to be happy, and that's all there is to it. So, thank you, Spooky.
Thank you,
Yori, his wife, is an amazing artist too. She's been on the road with him for the past, I guess, 2 weeks when they've been doing these really cool shows, exposing people to her super cool art. She has it here tonight. She's downstairs setting up the merch, and I think that's where we're going to go. So, thank you, and good night.